Greetings, everyone. Welcome to one more edition of TLC Coach Talks. Today, we have a very august coach in our company today. His name is Maganti Muthukumaraswamy. Muthu is an author, educationalist, and environmentalist with an educational background in psychology and MBA in technology management. He is an avid reader, movie buff, community member of Federation of Asian Storytellers and member of TLC Cygnus. He has close to 3 decades of experience in training and process facilitation and is touching over 70,000 plus people through his competency, capacity building behavioral interventions. He is also a co-founder of Create and Narrate, a story writing and storytelling hub. So let's all welcome Mr. Maganti Muthukumaraswamy, whom we very lovingly call Muthu. Welcome, Muthu.
Namaskar. Thank you. Thank you for that lovely, wonderful introduction.
So how
Good evening, everybody. Things are great.
Your days are going?
Things are great. And especially for our venture, we are taking baby steps. And thanks to the TLC community, we are learning every day and we are trying to implement them.
So thank you very much, Muthu, for taking out time for this talk show and giving us this occasion where a lot of people can get inspired and learn from you, from your journey, and probably they'll not make the same mistakes that a lot of us have been making over a period of time. So the first question that I want to ask you is, what was your key driving force to become a coach?
Okay. Actually, I think my own life experiences. If someone so much unfocused with full of excuses of why I can't do something, that's how I actually grew up. So when somebody like me, an ordinary person with so much of the lack of awareness, can be coached, can be mentored, can be trained to be successful in business and life, I think I have taken a leave out of my own book and said, okay, if I can be successful in spite of all the challenges I have faced, then I'm sure I should do something, because I started working when I was 17 and now I'm 52. So 35 years of failing forward and learning. So I thought probably it's time for me to give back to the society. And when the pandemic struck, I think that is when I really stopped doing all that quadrant 1 activities. And I had a lot of time on my hands to start learning. So I got into coaching space during the pandemic, thanks to it. And I was introduced to TLC. And my driving force definitely is to be able to give back to the society, whatever it has done for me.
In fact, I can relate with you, Muthu, so much, because when I talk to my fellow engineers or supervisors on my site, or when I talk to certain clients when they are hesitant and I say, boss, I know all my life I've been below average. So if I can understand something and if I can execute, you people can definitely, because you all have higher IQ than me. So I can really relate there that, we've got something and we want to give back to the society, because if at our level, if we could achieve something so brilliant, why not help other people do that? Now,
absolutely.
When you say you were procrastinating in a way and all that, so how do you generate new ideas, Muthu, in that case? Or you get new ideas to procrastinate only?
No. Fortunately, my weakness also is my strength. That's how I like to go about it. My daydreaming is a weakness, but it is also very good strength, because I really let my imagination loose. I don't judge my ideas, and I get most of my ideas very early in the morning when I get up or when I'm about to go to sleep. So immediately I just jump up and probably write down or maybe message myself so that I know when I get up in the morning, I don't forget it. So I note it down sometimes when I'm taking a shower. So I think as a technique, if you ask me, just not judging my ideas and letting my imagination loose. Fortunately, in spite of being so formally educated, somewhere the inner child, probably maybe I was not a very good or a studious student in school and college. So that inner child was alive, and my imagination and intuition is really helping me. Whenever I need ideas, I can generate them. I can talk to people, something pops up, reading books, all those things, somewhere these dots get connected and I come up with a lot of innovative ideas, thankfully.
In fact, Muthu, this is one place I would take people to say, take a pause and here again. Whenever you get an idea, don't think you're going to remember it. You don't. Note it down. I get up, Muthu, at times at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning and type myself a message.
Yeah.
Because by the time you'll get up, then you'll wonder, Arey, what was that great idea I got in the night? In fact, a lot of my nimishes nuggets that I do videos on, most of them are done by the dialogues of the movie or, any OTT series. Because if I like a dialogue, I have maintained a diary. I write down that and then relate it with my business. So always, friends, note down what Muthu said. Note down your ideas. Either voice message yourself, record it, text it, write it down in a notebook. If you get ideas and you want to implement them, write them down. That's the best way of doing. Don't depend here. Can also get corrupted. This is also a hard disk. So don't depend too much on that. Now coming again to the next question, Muthu. What has been your most satisfying moment in your business, in your journey so far? Because you've been working for 35 years now.
I would say, if you ask me on a scale of 1 to 10, my satisfaction levels are really only at 4.2 or 4.5. I'll tell you why. When I started business, when I moved from being an employee to an employer and tried my hand at self-employment and all that, probably I was still learning. I was not very comfortable or satisfied with what was the work I was dishing out. But slowly, I was able to make a mark. And then I can certainly say that I stopped looking at business as a profit-making opportunity. I looked at the social issues around me, and I'm particularly interested in education and environment sector. So I started looking at how it would be to become a social entrepreneur. So for a social entrepreneur, the first thing is always a dissatisfaction with something, the waste that is lying around on your street corner, or somebody wasting water, looking at some neighbor, using a lot of tap water to wash his car or something. So we see a lot of things around us and we are not happy or satisfied. So most of my business ideas have come from dissatisfaction. And that is why whatever work I'm doing, if I'm able to take it up to the transformational level or even the global level, I think that would be the day when I would be really satisfied. And so as I told you, my rating scale on satisfaction would be somewhere around the halfway mark right now.
In a way, it's good, Muthu. I mean, the day you become absolutely satisfied and say you've achieved something, you're virtually dead.
Oh, yeah.
In a way, it's good you are at 5, because then you can strive to be at 7 and then 9, probably 9.5. We can never get 10. But again, I really liked your way of thinking, Muthu, that when you are dissatisfied with something, you're trying to make it into your own satisfaction. So that way, you're not only satisfying yourself, but you're making some sort of an impact on the whole society, on a lot of people. I think, Muthu, I need to applaud you on that. I need to work on that. I do it on a very passive level, the work. But I think hearing from you today, probably I'll also get into it in a very active manner. And that brings me to my next question. And that is, what habit or more than one habits have helped you become so successful? Has helped you convert your dissatisfaction into satisfaction?
Okay. I have 3 that I can think of, which I do, of course, on a daily basis. So I will just list them. I don't know if they can be even called as habits. So first thing probably is asking and receiving help. This is one attitude that I have. I don't know if it's a habit. I was very introverted, and I was a very, a person who would not be very forthcoming or seek help. So then something happened in life when I had somebody to help me. So that has given me an opportunity to look at making sure that I help people. I don't wait for people to ask for help. When people do ask for help, I'm always ready to do whatever I can. I can always say, okay, this is what I can do, and that's it, instead of saying no. So I try to do that. I try to be ready to either reach out to help someone, or at the same time, when I want help, I'm very, very open to asking help. So that is one habit that has really helped me to be successful, because you don't know where help comes from. And sometimes you need to do is ask.
And you never know who may say yes to you. And
absolutely,
unless you
that
don't
is
ask.
one habit I have learned, especially in the last 20, 25 years. And the second one is, I would say, being ready to fail, if you can call that a habit, because I'm not a very brave person. I have all my doubts. I have my self-doubts. I have my challenges. But whenever I try to do something, I don't care for the outcome. So I always look at, let me give my shot at it. If it doesn't work, it's fine. Let's find another way of doing it. So I'm not very brave. I'm just an ordinary person who's ready to take the next step. So if that is one habit that has been stuck right from my childhood, is always press forward. Whatever happens, just keep moving ahead. So
Muthu, it's a great thing. I mean, we say a lot of times that unless you don't jump into the water, you will never learn how to swim. And if you don't ask, the answer as it is no. If you'll ask, there's a chance, 50% chance of person saying yes or person saying no. But if you don't ask, the answer is no as it is. I mean,
always,
two
yes.
great things to learn from this two habits.
And then one
Never
more thing
feel
I wanted
ashamed to ask for help.
Yeah, one more thing I want to add is, I practice a little bit of mindfulness. Whatever chaos is going around me, I try to be in the moment. I try to not stress myself up because I'm focusing on what I'm doing. It could be just making a cup of coffee or preparing something in the kitchen or working in my garden, talking to my plants. I just try to, even if it's making a PPT slide, I try to be in the moment and enjoy what I'm doing. I think that automatically takes care of my outcome, whether it is success or failure. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. These three habits I would definitely say as help.
It gives you a lot of focus if you are in that moment. It gives you a lot of focus. I mean, the quality of work would really speak. Amazing habits, Muthu. I mean, I think a lot of people can learn this three key habits also. Most of the problems would probably be solved. Now, you've been in this business for a long time now. You've been working for 35 years. You're an MBA. So what kind of a marketing strategies have you devised, Muthu? And of them, which tactic, if you can share at least one, which tactic has really worked for you? Because there are a lot of coaches who feel that they are doing a lot of work, but they are not able to be successful. Probably they're doing something wrong in probably marketing. So one tactic that has worked for you in the marketing field.
Okay. I will just share two of my
regular
things that I do. One thing is definitely networking, because I started off my career as a very introverted and very close person. I used to be very afraid to reach out to people or even communicate with them. So first thing I realized is wherever I worked, whether I worked for an NGO, whether I worked for a corporate, wherever I worked, I understood that communication is the key. And to reach out to people, to network with people is what is going to take people places. So that's what I found, one of the common things in most of the successful people. So I said, okay, this habit of mine is not going to help me unless I am able to network. So I started attending meetings. I started attending network programs. Whenever people used to call me, I used to go, even social events, because I wanted to get out of that shyness and that ability to network and communicate with people. So I was very good at communication. Fortunately, with the technology coming up, I kept in touch with people, writing emails, wishing them just normally, not for any expectation. So this habit of communicating with people continuously and reaching out to people, meeting people, I think that has really helped me. You will not believe it if I tell you for 20 years, I didn't even have a visiting card.
Wow.
Just this networking habit of mine and asking for referrals. That is the second habit, I would say. So this ghost-to-ghost network. I don't know who they are, but this person was happy with me, put me on to someone else. Like that, I was able to get so many breakthroughs just by these connections and a kind word. Somebody says, okay, why don't you talk to Muthu? Why don't you try Muthu? Just like that. So I'm I'm really grateful for all those people who just have pointed me to some direction or pushed me to, somebody to try something. So these two things I would vouch by: asking for referrals and networking. I think this automatically sells. Off late, I've learned to tell stories. If I may add the third one, telling stories also connects with people. So I don't go with my presentations anymore. I go to them with a story. Yesterday, I was with the Telangana State Road Transport Corporation. They wanted to change something in their largest bus station in Hyderabad. They had a problem with the sanitation. I didn't go with a PPT. I went with a story of what we did and how they can do better than that.
And in fact, whether people agree or no, whether people say openly or no, but in every human being, whether he is a 10-year, 50-year or 100-year, the child is always there. And since we've grown up listening to stories, hearing stories from our grandmother, mother, everyone, everybody loves to hear story. And I think that's a great way of presenting a business. So when you're doing marketing, don't like people say, don't blow your bugle about what you're doing. Rather than that, tell a nice story to people about some problem that you can solve of there. Like Muthu went with Telangana road transport, had irrigation people, telling them story as to how something can be resolved, not what Muthu is able to do. That people knew already. So I think nice way of doing it. Tell stories, people, and you actually remember stories rather than me remembering what Muthu does. I would rather remember a story if you've told me.
Absolutely.
Within that what you've done. I think it's a great way of marketing. Muthu, and since, as I said, you've been working for 35 years now, and a lot of that portion has been as a businessman, as a coach, as a mentor, along with so many successes. I'm sure you faced a lot of mistakes, a lot of failures also. So
I was
what has been
expecting
one
that
of your
question.
biggest mistake? I mean, probably mistakes would outnumber the success. So out of all those mistakes, which has been your biggest mistake so far?
Okay, actually, as you rightly said, it is 10:1. So many messes up, so many failures, so many mistakes. I have to now look at filtering them and look at which is the biggest, because there are quite so few big ones there. Okay, one of the biggest ones I can straight away remember now is getting into something where I have zero domain knowledge. At one point of time, I got into construction and real estate business, which I didn't know beans about. I just did it because I wanted to get some real estate and I wanted to build an organization, a school, especially for my after school program. So with that intention of trying to expand, I got into that business. I didn't know anything about it, and the lesser said, the better. It for a few years it wiped out my entire savings. It put me into so much of litigation, and it taught me wonderful lessons in life. I am wiser because of that experience.
Probably it gave you more money for the failure than all those successes. Now that brings me, now you've had such a big failure. How do you deal with this kind of failures? I'm sure you've got up and you're on your seat wearing suit and all and very successful today. So you dealt with it. So let viewers know that secret of how you dealt with those failures.
Okay, one, I can definitely say so many failures have in fact given so many different lessons. I've written a book about it, you wouldn't believe it. So many stories, it was running out of space. So I thought I will release 2 books instead of 1. So that many stories and that many learnings I have. But probably what I should say as a key learning is you always need a support system. So when you have to fall back on, it is very important for you to have a support system. So when you help people, when you help them when they are in a need, sometimes it happens that it may not be the same people who reciprocate, but somewhere through some other network, you're able to get somebody you can bank on, you can fall back on and take their advice, and probably, it helps you to buffer that blow whatever you are receiving. So I believe on having a good community of people, some close, trustworthy friends and family members we can fall back on. Second learning I had is every problem has a solution. So the only excuse is death. If you ask me, initially my response was denial. I used to, when the problem started cropping up, I said, no, it is nothing. We can solve it. No problem. I was, sounding overconfident. Inside, I might have been shaking, but I was trying to, try to cover it up. Then when the clouds started coming up, when things started becoming dark, I was in denial. I was saying, no, this is very small. Kuch problem hi nahi hai, we can solve it. No problem. Then when it really started pouring, when it became a storm, that's when I could not hide anymore like an ostrich. So that's how failures have taught me that the only way to go through challenges, you nip it in the bud. If not, you may have to face a raging storm. So your habit of denial or discounting could actually drown you. So I have learned to now start attacking problems straight away. I don't give time for it to grow more complex.
In fact, Muthu, I just thought about it when you were saying that you were in a denial mode, like an ostrich, you were, buried your head in the sand and all. Had you had a coach or a mentor at that time? Because at times we don't like to accept our failures or problems with our loved ones only because we don't want to burden them and stress them. But if you have a coach or mentor with you who's working with you, he becomes a sounding board for you. Probably you can offload yourself there. And in fact, I've found with an experience that when you do that offloading, unintentionally, unknowingly, you only find out solutions because you absolutely
all that clears up.
Spoke about loudly about it with somebody. So the coach or mentor just listens to you and puts the right question at the right time. And I think that, so all those who are listening, if you're into a business, if you're into coaching or somewhere, do have a coach or mentor in your life, because they are
exactly the support system I was talking about. I have people who have studied with me, who are very accomplished trainers and coaches. For 30 years, they have been with me and they are my, support system. That's what I meant by support system.
Because there you can really offload. As I said, family, probably you may not saying, why give them pressure? I'm taking it, I'll do it. And then you keep soaking in and it's like a soda water bottle.
Fortunately, my wife also is an entrepreneur. She is working in education space. She runs the academy on her own. She understands the problem. Initially, when I was newly married, I had a lot of ego problem to accept I had a challenge. I was not opening up. But slowly I could see that she was actually a very stronger person than me and she could take whatever comes. So I used to confide in her.
Women are stronger than men, boss. That's why in our Hindu mythology also, Shakti is the most powerful, not the Shiva. Now let's get back to a little lighter mode. Muthu, we had some serious questions just now. What do you do in your free time? What do you love to do in your free time?
Okay. I would love to have some free time. I have a toddler at home. So for the last 3 years, I have been extremely busy, short on food, short on sleep and everything. So I would love to first have some free time. Of course, jokes apart, if I do have free time and some quiet time, I surely read. Reading is my first thing. I'm always into reading something. Voracious reader. So TV also comes later. Either I read or I'm into listening to music. Of course, I play percussion instruments, but when the child is sleeping, I can't do that. So with elderly people and children at home, I'm not playing anymore, but I'm using my earplugs just to listen. And I also love to go and talk to the plants in my garden. So that's another support system I have. When I can't talk to anyone else, I can just go and talk to my plants.
And best part is they'll not go and gossip to anybody.
Absolutely. I have a terrace garden. Tell anyone. I'm all alone. I go, I water. I just talk to the flowers. I talk to the plants. I talk to the birds. I just enjoy myself. So that's my quiet space.
Being mindful. So you are, very interesting interview. Actually, I'm doing, Muthu, I must agree. You are really very unique kind of a guy. So what kind of a mantra do you live by in that case?
My daughter is called Om in short. Okay. Om is the mantra that we are always chanting all the time at home. Her full name is Omaja. So apart from that, Om, I would say serve to deserve is something that's been ingrained in my psyche right from my childhood. My parents were like that. My grandparents were like that. My siblings are like that. We're always ready to serve. So they always used to tell me, if you have to deserve something in life, you have to serve. And also having studied in Ramakrishna Mission School, always service comes first. So probably that is one thing that always drives me spiritually.
That's a great one, serve to deserve. I mean, if you really take it philosophically, it's a great one that to deserve, like we say, you need to command the respect and not demand the respect. So similarly, serve to deserve what you actually deserve in this life. Absolutely brilliant. Now, one more naughty question, Muthu. What did you waste your time most on when you started out as a coach? Because this would help a lot of people, though it's a little naughty question. It will help a lot of people not do the same mistake again.
Okay, you're not going to believe this. And of course, I've told it many times before. For 2 months, 8 one-to-one sessions, 2 hot seats, And God knows how many people I brainstormed with. I could not arrive at Manish. So I wasted a lot of time arriving at Manish, and I wasted a lot of time in getting my book out. So those two things definitely I would call as I've taken a lot of my valuable resource off. And very, very interestingly, by all these discussion interactions, the ball came back to my court and it was right under my nose. Only thing is I was trying to confuse myself and look at so many things, but it was
But
definitely there.
Muthu, you're not.
Fortunately,
Yeah, go ahead.
fortunately, the milestones map that TLC has come out with, I think the guys who are just joining now in our community are so lucky, because that is a very, very clear roadmap.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
an
if I had had that roadmap, pardon?
step by step. Yeah, 24
Yeah.
steps to success, it should have been told. In fact, and Muthu, you're not the only one who spent so many hours working on their niche. Because problem is with that, Muthu, is that people have that fear psychosis. Because I'm doing a lot of niche clarity sessions with a lot of members. They say, no, but I'm an image consultant. I do for everyone. I said, agreed. I'm not denying, don't accept that work that you get as an image consultant. But when you're marketing, when you're focusing on something, it has to be image consulting. Okay, working woman. I said, okay, working woman of what age? 15 to 25, 30 has a different dress sense. 35 to 50 would have a different dress sense. Even though it's a professional dress, they both can be wearing the same kind of a thing. And you feel that, I lose business. Actually, you don't. And that has taken a lot of time for people, honestly. That fear of losing out on a lot of business. And we then tell, find out your niche, find a very minute one, because that does not happen without doing it.
True.
And then it happens. Accept all the businesses that you have. But when you market only on this much. So, Muthu, you're not the only one who's had to do with it. Now, again, I come back because 35 years of experience, same as me, probably, and you look younger than me. You would have dealt with a lot of tricky situations right throughout your journey. Now, tell us about one such situation which was a very tricky and you handled it very nicely.
Okay, I'll tell you a story. I call myself a change management consultant and all that. So once it happened that I had to go and train the field level functionaries, actually speaking technically sweepers and drain cleaners in a municipal corporation in Kurnool. Kurnool is a big town in Telangana, in Andhra Pradesh, sorry. So when I was there, I was already late. I had to travel from Hyderabad. I was late. They were all waiting. Normally, these people who are working on the field, they like to come early in the morning around 5. And they like to finish their work. And before the sun is up, they like to go home and get on with their work. So they were already irritated and they were waiting. And I arrived late. I said, sorry. I profusely, apologized to all of them, which that itself was very funny. Normally, when people come, they just say, this, that, and they get into their, lecture mode. So I said, sorry. And immediately I said, let us have the first activity as a break. They were all laughing. We were all waiting already. Why is there break? I said, you're all tired of waiting. So let's have tea first and then let's start our discussion. So immediately they relaxed. Everybody was ready to listen to me. Here was somebody who had a sense of humor, who had apologized to us, who was ready to come down to our level and sit with us. So then I started my story of why the change initiative that we are doing, how we are institutionalizing it. I started with a question. After explaining to them, I asked them just to get their buy-in, what is the only permanent thing in the world? And people said lots of things. And finally, they all arrived at change. They agreed that change is the only permanent thing. I was like almost, I think I have made the mark. I have almost got the buy-in from them. And then one guy from the back, very old fellow, retired, but still continuing to give his services. He woke up and he got up from his seat from the back and said, sir, I have a question. He had a long beard. And I think it was also Ramzan time, if you don't remember. So he was saying, sir, there is one thing that never changes. I said, what? He said, have you seen our municipal dogs on the street of Kurnool? Their tails are always like this. You can never change it. You try all your techniques on. Everybody, there were about, I think, 230 people in that hall, including the commissioner, everyone, all the workers. They were all laughing. their heads off. Like I was clapping and I was also laughing, and I walked all the way up to him and congratulated him and walked all the way back to the stage. I did all the drama just to think, what should I reply? And I was like completely tongue-tied. I was red in the face. This is the first time somebody has asked me a question on change management. All my MBA, everything gone to trash. Now I have to answer it because whatever I thought, I have got a buy-in from so many hundreds of people. With this one small joke, everything is gone. Now the joke's on me. And everybody is eagerly looking at how I'm going to react to it. Now I'm also thinking, going up and going down, I'm thinking, what am I supposed to say? Then normally when we are training college and we are training learned people, we used to ask them this question: should the tail wag the dog or the dog wag the tail? Now suppose if I ask that again, they will all get very hurt. And even the guys from the unions, they will start thinking, okay, see, he's calling us a dog or a tail and all that. So I cannot say I cannot be a smart aleck there. So what do I say which will satisfy them and get the thing back? So I said, wonderful. I think that was a great idea that you gave. But have you all seen that there are some dogs who have their tails cut for their own good? And then everybody started laughing. I said, either, change is like that. Either we are able to accept it or we have to be victimized by it. So do you want to be the dog which is happy because you're all very faithful employees? You happily adopt something so that the benefits come to you. Or do you want to be like that unhappy dog, which doesn't want to accept, but gets victimized? So either you can be the leader of change, you can be the first ones to take it and go forward so that others can follow you, or you can be a victim. Anyway, it will be thrust on you. So everybody clapped, and I was very happy that, I didn't make a fool of myself. I think
it's very tricky. In fact, in a great way, you did that, because it's a very tricky thing, because you can't offend them. He's made a very logical point, which is illogical, but very logical point. And how do you get out of that? Because you are the one who's actually lecturing them. So you had to come on. It's a brilliant way of thinking on your feet, as people say. Now, the last couple of questions before I let you go. Who has been your greatest inspiration in the life so far? Besides, don't tell me parents and all, they always are. Besides that, who all?
I was about to say the same thing. Okay. Definitely, there are 2-3 people who I have interacted with and worked with. So I would say MB Nirmal, he's an ex-banker. Of course, he's retired now. And he started an entity called Exnora in Chennai. When I was a student, he inspired me, because he was the one who brought the civic movement where people will become the stakeholders of managing their own waste and problems with waste. So he is definitely one person who I look up to for inspiration, because ideas just pop out of his heads like popcorn. We just talk to him for 5 minutes. You will come up with hundreds of ideas. He's that kind of a person who cannot think, straight. You ask him anything, he will come up with something completely unrelated and it will blow your mind. The second person, of course, is another very young lady of 82 years who put a public interest litigation because she could not hear the frogs croaking in winter right behind her cottage in Bangalore. And because she found that all the frogs have died or gone away because all the waste was being dumped there. And she put a litigation just because she could not hear the frogs singing happily. And that is why we have the solid waste management rules for our country. It was framed because Supreme Court had asked for a committee to be formed and the rules to be framed so that people don't discard waste wherever and whenever they want, because people's life is at stake. It's not just frogs and dogs and fishes. So these 2 people definitely inspired me to work on the environment space. In terms of education, I would say because I studied in Ramakrishna School, as I already told you, I was firmly instilled with a lot of spiritual books, spiritual guides. So Adi Shankaracharya, the Jagat Guru, his works inspire me. When I went to Kaladi and I was just standing there looking at how he has traveled on foot throughout this country, from where in Kerala, in Kaladi to Kashmir, twice, I was like mind blown. So I think when I think of how I have traveled across the country, it is nothing compared to what he had done. And of course, the second one is intellectual giant, Swami Vivekananda. The works that these kind of people have produced one lifetime probably is not enough to read and probably practice few of them. I think I'm really, really inspired by this people.
Sorry, in fact, that brings me to the last question, Muthu, is that which business or coaching book, and you are an avid reader, you said, and that's why I'm asking this is, which business or a coaching book has really inspired you a lot?
I love books. I read everything and anything. In fact, you will be surprised to know that till I was in 7th standard, I didn't have a reading habit. I would only read my books for writing exams. Then my brother-in-law's brother came and said, "You don't have a habit of going to a library or reading books." He literally dragged me and showed me a lending library. And that's when my life completely changed. I completely finished all the books in the lending library in about 3-4 months. And it never stopped till now. So I don't have one particular book. I read everything. In fact, I'm the only person who even reads the bill, item wise, so that everything I keep reading. One thing that is very close to my heart is because I lack a little bit of it is emotional intelligence from Daniel Goleman. And the second one is, of course, because I am into change and transformation. I love the book Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. In fact, when I moved, I made a shift from Chennai to Hyderabad when I was 30. The first book that my uncle, he was a bookseller, he was in Higginbotham's. That was the first book he gave me and said, you have to start networking, you have to accept change. And that is the reason perhaps today I am a change management consultant. These two books come on top of my mind.
I hope they will help a lot of other listeners and coaches and trainers who are there. And they are one of the iconic books in the world today. And just to refresh their memory as to these are the books we can read a lot and change our own lives also, because it has changed millions of lives all over the world. Thank you very much, Muthu, for giving so much time, sharing your knowledge, sharing your problems, and letting people know how they can succeed in their life. Thank you very much once again, Muthu.
Thank you so much for having me on TLC Talks, Namish. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.